When I say the words Welsh Trail Centre, it usually conjures up images of remote mountain trails, epic scenery, savage uphill climbs, and amazing descents. And that's exactly what we found on today's ride. But when I say Welsh Trail Centre, you probably think of Cody Brennan, Llandegla, Cwm Carn, or Antostiniog. But not today, because we're an amazing set of Welsh trails that you've probably never heard of. This is Penmachno in North Wales. This trail centre is regarded as one of the hidden gems of North Wales mountain biking, and I can totally see why. Home to a couple of amazing mountain bike trails that can challenge even the most experienced trail rider. There are 2 loops that can be ridden separately or combined for a savage 30k challenge. They are very remote, natural feeling trails with some spectacular views of Snowdonia. Today we decided to set off on the 19k Machno loop, which says it should take between 1 to 3 hours. Interestingly enough, I haven't ridden here since I used to live in North Wales 10 odd years ago. I don't really remember the trails very well, but I'm excited to be riding here again. After a spicy fire road climb up from the car park, we set off on our first piece of single track. This happens to be a gradual climb on some pretty tricky terrain. This place definitely has a rough and rugged feel to it. There are lots of bushes overhanging the path and the trail feels really narrow. It's also slightly rutted, which means you're limited on movement and have to be pretty precise with your steering. This section eventually opens out into the forest and becomes a bit more undulating. I feel like if this section was anywhere else, it would be a smooth trail and it would be utterly boring. But here, it's a sustained effort and really interesting. There's nothing too complex on this first descent to catch you out, just a few casual rock rolls and a few turns. Looking back, this is probably one of the easiest descents on the trail, a good sign of things to come. The next section started off in a similar way, with some interesting yet undulating trail. Even with the dry weather recently, there are still some huge puddles kicking about. Because we've had such a great summer, I'd almost forgotten the feeling of riding with wet feet. Making your way through the woods, the trail starts to gradually point its way downhill. It slowly eases you into this style of riding with a bit of a descent. Here you learn how the trail moves and you get an idea of the type of features to look out for. Today I'm riding my full suspension bike. All the trail descriptions say you don't need one to ride here, which is true, but I definitely found it way more comfortable than I would have on a hardtail.
This is the kind of riding we all love.
The next few sections make their way through the woods on some undulating terrain. Even the flatter traversing sections of trail like this require lots of attention and effort. There are rocks and tight corners that can really catch you out. I was even having flashbacks of riding here over 10 years ago.
Yeah, I remember this.
But with lots of traversing done, it was time to gain a bit more height, ready for 3 superb downhill trails. These 3 sections are rocky, fast and action-packed. These are the first proper descents on the trail and they're well worth the climb to get here. Having not ridden these sections before, I've got no idea what features are coming or which way the trail goes. With things being a bit overgrown, I felt like I really had to be on my game here. The tricky part about this section is that you're riding in a rut. This really limits your movements and makes it a little bit awkward to stay on target. If the track was double the width, these sections would be perfect. But as they are, I definitely found myself clipping the side of the trail quite a bit. This didn't stop things being awesome, but it did make the riding a lot sketchier. The second section was more of the same, but with the awesomeness turned up a notch. It's faster, has more rocks, and you ride pretty close to a steep drop on the right hand side. These 3 sections flow really nicely, and it seems like there's never a dull moment. No matter how good of a rider you are, there will definitely be something here that you'll be challenged by. As you can see, this second section is the longer of the 3, but if you ride all 3 of them back to back, it's a pretty substantial section of descent. There's also a fire road to the left of the trails, so once you've ridden these, you can make your way right back to the top and do them again if you wanted. For me, this section has everything that I enjoy about riding. Smashing it down a rocky hillside as fast as possible, managing a twisting and undulating trail. And did I mention the spectacular views?
I want to stop and look at the view, but I can't take my eyes off the trail. Woo!
I was bobbing and weaving around so much that the hose for my hydration pack came unclipped and started having the time of its life blowing around in the wind. Luckily, it doesn't get in the way of the camera too much, and I clip it back on at the end of the section. But I wasn't about to stop this awesome descent to sort it out, and I'm not even considering taking my hands off the bars to tuck it away.
Man, that was cool. Number 3.
The third section leaves the open cliffside and heads into the woods. As you can see, the weather is spectacular today. There's nothing better than riding on an awesome sunny day like this. When you're out in the open with the sun on your back, the visibility was superb. But as we headed into the forest, the bright speckles of light shining through actually made it pretty tricky to see. Riding blind at a pretty decent pace, this led to a few bad decisions and a couple of near misses. But this didn't slow us down or stop us from having fun. To me, these are 3 excellent descent sections. They're interesting, involved and exciting. Because Penmachno isn't as well ridden as some of the other Welsh trail centres, the trails here give off much more of a natural and unpredictable feel. It means you have to use your riding and line choice skills to keep you heading in the right direction, rather than just following the trail. Because the downhill sections are so damn good, you honestly don't mind how savage the climbs get. Because you know you're going to be treated to an epic ride back down, you can actually just get stuck into the uphill and traversing sections. After a bit of exploring, we found easily the sketchiest feature on the whole trail. This bridge has seen better days. It's on a pretty obvious slant, and it made some quite disturbing noises when we walked over it.
It is a wee bit sketchy. Jesus.
Not to mention the missing deck boards.
Yeah, that fully moves, doesn't it?
With no other options, we gently made our way over, one at a time. Sticking to the left-hand side also seemed like the more stable option. Safely over the bridge, we started making our way through another woodland section, which also contained a couple more old sketchy bridges. In total, this trail took us around 2 hours to ride. We weren't particularly sprinting up the climbs, and we were stopping regularly to admire the views. And to be honest, I suggest that you do the same.
That's a good view, isn't it?
Penmachno has to be one of the trail centres with the best views. We could have stayed here for hours, but we have more riding to do. The next section was, in my opinion, one of the toughest parts of the whole trail. It's a relatively flat and slightly uphill section, but far from boring. It happens to be one of the most involved and technical pieces of riding we did today. I think this is where this trail differs from other local centres like Llandegla or Cody Brennan. Although it may not look like much on camera, this part was filled with jagged and sometimes loose rocks. Combine this with the fact that it's a narrow and often waterlogged track, made for some tough going.
Oh, how is it so deep? Oh, that's so deep.
It's not often that you come across sustained sections like this. We've all ridden a short flat rock garden at your local trail centre, but multiply that by 100 and you might be getting somewhere close to this. It's these features that make it a solid red graded trail. It goes to show that flat sections of trail don't have to be boring and can still contribute to the technical difficulty of a trail.
This section is technical. Really hard work up and over all the boulders. You got to get in the right gear, you've got to get your pedal strokes right. There's rocks, there's water features, everything. Good fun though.
I think I found this a challenge because I know how to ride a rocky downhill, but a section of rocky trail where you have to focus on your balance, momentum and line choice, all whilst trying not to whack your cranks on a rock, is something that I don't often get a chance to ride. After the halfway point in this section, you get a bit more momentum as you start to gradually point downhill again, but the rock features and challenges start to come at you thick and fast. I felt like this section was type 2 fun, and by that I mean when you're riding it, you feel like you're going through hell, but looking back, it looks awesome.
I hadn't touched the brakes in a while and they didn't want to work.
It was definitely a workout for your upper body as well as your legs. And this is why you really do need a decent level of fitness and bike competence to ride this trail, especially if you're looking to ride both loops here. I genuinely think that this trail is way harder than anything I've ridden at other trail centres like the Brennan or Degla. The technical nature of these rocky downhills and sections like this easily surpass those at other centres, and we'll talk about this more in the final descent section. So, with most of the trail behind us, we started making our way back down. The Machno route really starts to come alive towards the end, with a hefty helping of downhill trails from here on out. Compared to how hard the last section was, it was really good to get moving again and pick up a bit of speed. These are awesome sections of trail with a number of different types of features on. And again, this goes to highlight the range of different riding available here. It feels like the sections get harder and harder the further down you go. This accumulates as an epic trail just before you're back in the car park. Now, I'm never one to complain about a great descent, but my calves were burning going down here. Unless you're riding in the mountains or abroad, you don't often get the chance to ride descent sections anywhere near this long. It's also a mental workout as you have to keep scanning the trail in front and be able to tackle anything that they throw at you. With all this going on, it became obvious that I was getting tired. And when you're tired, you make silly mistakes.
Easy.
I just landed slightly in the wrong place and clipped the side of the trail. Luckily, it was a soft landing, no harm done. So, with such epic trails and spectacular views, why is this place not more well known or swamped with people? Well, the infrastructure at this trail centre consists of a car park and a questionable looking honesty box. That's it. No cafe, no toilets, no benches, nothing. Not even phone signal. Now, I really like the wilderness vibe of this trail centre and I think it's one of its charms. But honestly, I can't think of any other reason why you wouldn't want to come here. But one reason you will want to come here is for this last section, and it's a good one.
Oh, blimey.
In fact, this section is my favourite on the whole trail. It has a bit of everything, and it's definitely a challenge on the harder end of the red grade. It's a long, fast, and very rocky trail. It may be tough to see on camera, but the difficulty of this section far exceeds anything on any of the other Welsh trail centres I mentioned. This descent takes a huge amount of focus, fitness, some decent bike skills, and for me, a generous helping of luck. And you'll also see why I recommend bringing a full suspension bike for this trail. With the contrast between the light and dark levels, it was really difficult to see at times, and there were loads of rocks that want nothing better than to throw you off your bike. On more than one occasion, I felt like I was flying by the seat of my pants. The speckled sunshine through the trees makes it really hard to pick out the features in advance. A short amount of visibility and technical trails don't always make a good combination. This section is like a roller coaster mixed with a bucket bronco. You're constantly moving and there's never a dull moment. Neither the camera or my description of this trail will do justice to how amazing riding this section is. Because some parts are paved with larger rocks and some are more natural, the terrain is constantly changing. So it isn't like a bike park where you know what line to take and the trail surface is consistent. I honestly think I used all 160mm of front suspension when I was riding here today. This is the kind of trail I love and that my bike is designed for. I mean, you're bouncing over rocks and around blind corners as fast as you can go. What's not to like? And with the descent sections done, we came out on the fire road ready to go back to the car park. For me, this place is amazing and I can't wait to come back and ride the other trail here. And you should all do the same. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.